And we are live. Hello and welcome to Developer Insights. I'm David.
And I'm Justin.
Together we are the leads on game development and design here at Codename.
We've also founded Codename, so we've got that going for us too.
We're going to be your hosts for this episode and for every episode.
Because when one of us is sick, the show doesn't happen.
Well, that checks out. Unless you did last week's show without me.
Nope, the show didn't happen.
Nope. It's your story anyway. Today is our 70th episode.
What? No, it's our 60th episode.
Oh, no, sorry, I'm skipping the 60s.
Why would you do that?
Wasn't it obvious? There was too much sex, too much drugs, and too much rock and roll.
No, that wasn't obvious.
Oh. Well, maybe it was because of low unemployment, high wages, and consumer prices combined with a high cost of oil led to inflationary issues that lasted through the 70s and into the 80s.
You know, I'm not sure any of these references are really playing to our audience.
You're probably right. You wouldn't want them to think this is some kind of social commentary. That's just not what we do here.
No, that's our other stream, developer opinions. Yes. Anyway, that was the dumbest intro we've done in a while. As always, we are here to answer development and design questions about idle champions.
But if you don't ask any questions, you may have to suffer through Justin's one-man reenactment of Avengers Age of Ultron.
You know, I'm actually getting a little tired of the Marvel stuff. Who knew that watching 24 hours of superhero movies in a row would become tedious?
Literally everyone. Everyone knew that. Anyway, as always, we have pulled some questions from the previous show that we didn't get to, and we will answer some of those while we're waiting for new questions to come in. But before we get to that, I've got a few updates on items that we flagged to get looked at by the dev team. So without any further stalling for time, we'll get started with those. Okay, so the big item on the top of the list today is Offline V2. For those of you who are on Steam, the Offline V2 has rolled out. It rolled out probably a little over an hour ago, and that means that if you are on Steam and you get the latest update, you will be using the new offline systems. Now, the major rework on those was actually such that the systems are now going to be easier for us to figure out how everything lines up and works together, so that if there are issues, we will be able to track them down significantly easier than in the previous setup, as well as sort of allow for more accuracy in the progress that we'll be working on in the coming weeks. This on its own, just as its current state rollout, doesn't make anything faster, unfortunately, and it's probably very similar right now in terms of feature as the previous rollout. So this isn't sort of a miracle, solve everything overnight kind of release, but it is something that puts us in a position where we've got a lot cleaner code, a lot better logging, and a lot more structure that we can work with to make the overall offline progress work much better. Additionally, we have got in some fixes that were on the list from the previous show. We got alternate maps on the campaign map are now clickable rather than just the button, so that should make that easier. We've added a formation clear button, so that's coming out I think in the next build, but that's a button that if you want to just clear out your formation, you can do that. I know the requests came in, I think when we were originally asked about this, some players had suggested that they'd had a formation that was saved that just was empty. So we've added a little X button at the bottom on the bottom left just to clear out your formation. Keep in mind that doesn't work when you're under attack. It still has the same formation changing rules. We've added a notification for when your background parties stop making progress. This is also pending the next build. So if any of your background parties their auto progress stops, a little icon at the bottom there that indicates that you need to check out what's going on there, see if you can fix it up. And then let's see, we still have the items that are carrying forward from the previous streams. We've got adding an icon to the Portraits of Champions that are blocked due to variant rules that have a feat that could make them unblocked. We're going to do some improvements on the performance of the animation for moving the chest, for opening a chest code in. We're going to fix the issue with the BUD being small, hard to read on console. A tooltip on gear indicating what the max level is and the progress towards max level. A quick and easy way to return to Area 1 on mobile. Let's see, additional icons on the quest tracker for the different types of season quests. Recall for familiar. Better cycling for champions on console. an indication for unread changelogs, a pass on making sure that escape closes all menus and dialogues, and lastly, saving feats with formations. All right, now on to the leftover questions from the previous show. And I think the first one here, Justin, leads into an announcement, but we'll start with this. This question here, which was asked by a longtime lurker, is you mentioned in previous streams that you haven't decided if the season paid content will appear in the gem shop or wild offers. Have you made a decision yet? And if not, would it be possible to reach one before the pass is no longer available?
So happy to start with this question, as it is something that we are ready to talk about. And we will be, I think, releasing a blog either like right now or at some point this afternoon about what we are going to do with those Season 1 items, the sort of the special Season 1 items. This would be the feats, the skins, the familiar that's on the free track, and the Modron core that is on the paid track. And so the answer is we will not be putting the... Okay, I'll just go through them one at a time. The feats... how am I going to approach this? Okay. I should have rehearsed this. So the answer basically is 6 months after the season ends, all of those items will become available in wild offers, and the feats will become available for 50,000 gems each. So the Season 1 feats will go into wild offers and be available for 50,000 gems. The skins, familiar, and Modron core will go into wild offers and be available in wild offers. And that'll happen 6 months after the season ends. So I think that's around May 23rd, 2023. And in terms of kind of our reasoning for that, we did think a lot about this and take a lot of kind of positions into consideration. Our main one, I think, is that we didn't want people who invested a lot of time and effort into getting those items to feel like they were just kind of immediately available after the season ended. So we wanted to give some sort of cooldown period where those would be exclusive to people who either bought the pass and earned them, or just worked your way through the season quests to earn them for the familiar. And but we did want them to eventually become available, because exclusive items that are kind of no longer available, they don't feel good for people who like to collect everything, and I like to collect everything. And so that was something that we wanted to make sure that they were available in some way. If you missed them during the season, or if you didn't, even if you just started playing like just now, then there's no way to really get some of those items. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing with the Season 1 items. There will be a blog up that'll, I assume, will be posted on all our socials and whatnot, that'll have basically a summary of that. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure we may get further questions on that. And we'll get to those as we get to those. The next question here is from Nixis. Oh, and actually, before I read the question, I was going to just address a comment in the chat. There is a a countertop place right next to us on one side of our building, and we do get what sounds like thumping through the walls occasionally. And I think that's what you're hearing when you said someone sounded like there was someone stomping in the nearby room. They've got a gear and pulley system, and they move large granite slats around, and that can cause quite a noise. And I think that's probably what you were hearing,
especially down at that end of the tavern.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. It's not as bad down here at my end of the tavern, but
Anyway, moving on to this question from Nixis. Could every different event be accounted separately from each other for the Kent stacks?
Yeah, so this is a question about a recent champion who basically gets stacks for using that champion in high areas in each campaign. And we group all of the event ones together. And we really just did that to make it a little bit simpler to kind of get his stacks kind of maxed, if you will, not have to wait for basically an entire year's worth of events in order to max out his stacks, which just felt a little bit too much like a chore rather than something fun to do. So we certainly could have gone that direction. It was a design decision to not go that direction and to instead just have all of the events clumped in one.
Okay. Next question. This one is from Mokujin Zergman. Why are seasonal quests not filtered to the player? I'm new to the game and I don't have patron enabled, yet I still have to complete 20 patron challenges or defeat Tiamat or an Ayla quest. I don't own Ayla.
Yeah, so the seasonal quests, the ones that you get 7 more of each week, those are the same for every single player in the game. So if we didn't give you the complete 20 patron challenges quest, you'd just get 1 less quest. So we did design all of the seasonal quests with new players in mind. I don't think we did anything there that isn't possible to accomplish in within the 10 weeks of the season. If you start the season and you're a new player, then I think it is possible to unlock a patron within 10 weeks of starting the game. I think it is possible to get through Descent into Avernus and defeat Tiamat within the first 10 weeks of the game. And it's definitely possible to unlock the 5 champions or Heroes of Erois in the first 10 weeks of the game. So it was kind of built to point folks in the directions of those systems. So if you're new to the game, you don't know what patrons are, and you get a challenge that says like complete 20 patron challenges, then you'll go out and try and figure out what patron challenges are. And so you'll get introduced to that system. So there's a little bit of sort of intentional sort of guiding through the game in those seasonal quests. But they're all intended such that if you start playing the game near the start of the season, you should be able to get through all of them before the season ends. Obviously, if you start playing halfway through the season or towards the end of the season, it might be more challenging. But I don't think anyone would really think that if you start playing, with like 3 or 4 weeks left in the season, that you should be able to crush through the entire season and get everything done. Though, who knows? Maybe you could. Next question here is from SailNet. This is kind of more of a fun question for you, Dave. They say, can you change the background so it looks like it's one table that goes between both screens rather than a weird L-shaped table?
You mean this table here?
Yeah, this one right back here.
I could ask Michelle to draw a different one.
I think you should just grab the art in Photoshop and just, sorry, it's not in Photoshop. Of course, that's a real table right behind us. Yeah.
Yeah. We could play with that. I think the bigger concern was that your fire is burning and mine's not. I think it's, yeah.
Oh no. What's going on over there?
I only have an image. I don't have the video.
I didn't think people would notice that because we're always in front of the fire. Yeah. So
it was pointed out to me.
If you hadn't pointed that out, no one would know that.
Oh yeah.
All right.
I think we can play with the background, but it's probably not a high priority at the moment.
Let's move on to new questions from this week.
Certainly. All right. First question of the day is from Grommen1. Is there any update to bonus damage not being removed from Tiamat's health in Trials of Mount Tiamat at the end of each day?
Yeah, so I don't have an update for you on this yet. I see a bunch of people asking about this, so I did want to address that we don't have an update yet. The developer who is working on the trial stuff is trying to get a bunch of legendary changes done for the next build. So we are working on that, and then hopefully when we're done that, we'll have some time to loop around and see what is going on with this bonus damage. I'm still not convinced that it's not just a visual glitch of some sort, but we'll definitely look into that once we get some time.
Okay. Next question is from Tickled Weenus. Lovely. Is there any future plan to rework Black Viper and or possibly add more effects based on the amount of collected gems? Make Black Viper great again. And George Michael rules.
Okay.
George Michael. As in like from Arrested Development?
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so in terms of a future rework of Black Viper, I think that's definitely possible. When we were looking at Season 3 champions, we were considering including Black Viper in that set. Unfortunately, she did not make the cut for Season 3, but that does not mean that she won't get in there at some point in the future. It's definitely a mechanic that I think people really got into, collecting all the red gems, and so I do think it is something that there's value in revisiting. She's also got some interesting mechanics around buffing bards and rogues and stuff like that. So if you haven't played with Black Viper, You should check her out. She's got some really interesting kind of mechanics that you can make use of there. I think there was actually a Discord account that was spouting out Black Viper facts at one point in Discord there, which I found very amusing.
Okay. Next question. This one is from Old Man Master. What are your thoughts about a portion of the community being adversely affected by seasonal and weekly buffs? Players have spent many hours fine-tuning cores and champs to gem farm, and the buffs wreak havoc with our setups.
Yeah, this is a challenging one. I think one of the things that makes Idle Champions really good is the fact that it is constantly evolving. Every week we're putting out new stuff, changes to the game, improvements, I would hope, but certainly changes and additions to the game. And I do struggle when people ask, or mention, that they a new feature that we spent a whole bunch of time on is bad for them because it messes with their fine-tuned gem farming stuff or whatnot. And so there is definitely some challenge there in terms of reconciling those kind of two viewpoints of people who really get into things and people who would prefer if it just kind of stayed static so they could just farm gems to their heart's content. I think that I've seen some people in chat there saying like, let us disable seasonal buffs or toggle this or toggle that, and I think we just unfortunately I think by doing stuff like that I think we just really get into the weeds where there's the game turns from an already very, very complex game to something where there's it's just a whole bunch of switches where it's like turn on this and turn off that and turn on this to get the optimal setup for this and that, and it gets I think even more finicky than we would like it to be. But I do hear this feedback. I've read it, and I think in cases where there's something simple we can do to not mess up gem farms, it's certainly something we consider. But for the most part, a lot of these things are very kind of niche issues, and often just frankly it's challenging to justify spending the time to give the options for these. I don't know if you have any other thoughts on that, Dave.
No, I was reading the future questions, just marking things on that. I do just in general, I agree. It's tricky to figure out how many people are being affected by something like that, and especially if it comes down to adding something like, say, for example, being able to turn on and off buff effects, which is something that we definitely hesitate to do because we don't want people to end up in a situation where they've turned off things that could be of benefit to them, as well as it just adds additional complexity to the interface. Like it's always a trick to try and make sure we keep the complexity under control, and given the complexity of it already, it's just adding one more thing, and then of course that makes another problem in terms of like there's multiple UIs to work in something like that. So if we're adding something like that, we need to have a good feeling about how many people are going to be using it and how much of an impact it has. So it's a tricky one in terms of like, I can see the request and I can see why it makes sense, but I'm also not sure sort of how, as just sort of the word Justin used was niche, and I'm not sure exactly how niche it is or not. And that's sort of and obviously, then the other side of it comes of when we have players who are really into it in that way, we do want to make sure that we're keeping you happy, keeping the features in there that you ask for, making sure that we're not, making your game more difficult to play or less fun to play, because that's it's here for it. It's here to be fun. So yeah, I'm not sure. It's a tricky one. Okay, next question. This is from Niscus. Good day. Will hashtag Jeremy Clawford be available in the next 4 weeks? Thanks in advance.
So I'm looking through the release notes for the next 4 weeks here, and I don't think so, but I don't know. I don't see it listed anywhere here. Someone could try and sneak it in, maybe. I'm looking here now. I don't see it here, but who knows? Maybe folks will surprise me.
Yeah, there's another question further down about that, asking about how the most recent changes to the background party affects hashtag Jeremy Ford Familiar. And I think the answer is it delays it indefinitely.
I think they'll make it so that the background parties will handle familiars a little bit better. So,
Yeah.
If/when Jeremy Clawford ever makes it into the game, it'll be all beneficial.
I thought we were telling everyone every time someone asked we were delaying it by a day.
Is that what we're doing?
I don't know.
That explains why it's not on the list here. Maybe I should look in 2024.
Anyway, let's see. Let's move on to the next question. This one is from Emote, asking, could we please have the option to favorite champions in the Trials of Mount Tiamat champion selection menu, so that our regularly sent champions are always at the top, and perhaps even a similar feature in the Legendary Forge menu. It would make finding the champions we want to work with much easier.
Yeah, I think this is a good idea. I think that definitely the Legendary Forge needs some work in terms of, and we talked about this in previous episodes too, about how it's currently ordered, I think, by champion ID, which is a really terrible way to order things. So there needs to be some better ordering options on that, and certainly one of them could be the ability to favorite champions and then order by your favorites. So I think these are both good ideas. I don't know if we'll get to them soon, but we can highlight these and stick them on the big list of things to do from Dev Insights.
Okay.
Next question, also from Emote, is for Dave, because I've answered questions. It's your turn. They ask, could you maybe condense the active potion icons into one icon like you've done with the season buffs? Maybe do the same with the weekend/weekly party champions. Having a lot of potions active on a weekend is a mess of icons.
That is a fair, that is a completely fair statement. I've definitely seen a few screenshots that are just, you got a whole thing dangling down. Looks like you got little Christmas lights or something hanging there.
It's abysmal.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's grown a lot further it's grown a lot from where it started. We've added a lot of additional icons there that are making it definitely really busy. And then as other things have come up, we've come up with ways that are a little cleaner to display some of that information. Certainly the seasons buff is an example of that. And I think, what was the other one that did a similar thing, Justin, from the season buff?
The Trials Mount Tiamat.
Yeah, that's the one.
Buff gets a single icon.
Yeah, so something like that could definitely be an improvement overall. And I think we're going to take that discussion offline and figure out what makes sense for that, but I think we could do that a little cleaner. Yep.
Cool. Next question here is also from Emote.
Wow.
There's 4 of them in a row here. And they asked, if you must bring up the chests menu when closing the shop, even if no chests have been bought, could you please make the close button for the chest menu in the same position as the close button on the new shop, or the new shop experience? It being in a completely different place isn't ergonomic.
Yeah, that's probably a fair point. We can take a look at that. I know it's one of the things that came up during the development cycle on the new shop was that we initially had the new shop come out without the chest menu underneath it, but we did find that actually this was resulting in people not opening their chests after they purchased them, which was interesting but obvious after the fact, and so we did pop that up underneath to make sure that that's an option that's available and that you don't forget, because it did seem like players were just going back to the game after that and then forgetting that, oh yes, actually I got some chests that I wanted to open. So that's why that comes up. We can definitely see where that close button is. Potentially
we'd almost have to put a second close button
yeah.
on the top for it. Otherwise, people are going to complain that we've moved the one down there and they're used to clicking down there, and now they won't be there.
What about second close?
All of the auto clickers would have to be reconfigured to click in a different place.
Yeah, that's the end of the world right there. Okay.
Next question from Randram, who asks, is there any reason the CNE client is so many builds behind? And are there any plans to catch it up for stuff like background progress?
Yeah, so I haven't looked at exactly what build the CNE client is on. Typically, we do roll out builds more rapidly to platforms like Steam when there are fixes or things that we're often something's a test fix, for example. I don't like to use the word guinea pig, but I know it's been bandied about even today.
It looks like the CNA launcher is on not the latest version, not the one we just rolled out to Steam, but certainly the version just before that. And it looks like it was rolled out right around, it was a couple hours after Epic and an hour before Cartridge on same time as Android got rolled out on Monday.
Right, so it shouldn't be too far behind.
Right,
yeah. I mean, my expectation is that it wouldn't be. Now, I mean, I don't manage the builds anymore, but my understanding is that anything that's sort of any critical release piece is always going to be up to date on those clients.
All right, someone's saying in chat there that it's on 4.7.2.1.
Okay.
I'll have to double check with Jacob, because in our release document here it says that it is on 4.7.5.3. So we can definitely figure out what the discrepancy there is.
Yeah. But as far as for catch up for stuff like background progress, the offline background progress, offline V2, the new background progress updates, we are being a little slow on the rollout for that on purpose. It's been in testing. We've had a small group of beta testers testing that for the last 6 weeks. Thank you to all of you who have been who've actually been guinea pigs on that and have helped Mark find a number of minor and major issues that have been worked out, so that the current build that goes out to Steam does not have any of those issues in it. We have the rollout to Steam is a widening of that, but we are doing that slowly to make sure that there's nothing that we missed. I mean, having, I think we ended up with about 100 people testing it. The number of variants in those accounts, the variances in those accounts hopefully covered a wide breadth of possibilities, but certainly there's a potential that we didn't catch everything, which is why we're going to roll it out slowly. First it'll come to Steam, then we'll go to Epic, and once we've got it on Steam and Epic and we're confirmed that that's working well, then we'll push it out broadly across all the platforms. So it's one of those things, being on those platforms is a double-edged sword. If we have something new like this and we roll it out and there's something wrong with it, unfortunately, that might affect you. On the other hand, if it's a new feature and it works great, you get that new feature first. So yeah, a little bit of a double-edged sword there. But fingers crossed, everything goes well. Hopefully I'm not saying, hey, it's running great and there's a bunch of bug reports coming in right this moment. Hoping that's not the case, but everything was looking good earlier, so. So yeah.
Cool. And yeah, we'll look into that CNE launcher thing and see what it is, see what it's on, or what's going on there. Next question is from Shane McFluke, who says, the past few days, the game sometimes runs quite slow. For example, mode run resets or switching parties can take up to multiple minutes, or even opening the season or automation tab can take up to a minute. Are the servers just struggling at the moment, or are you guys making changes in the backend that take up server processing power?
Yeah, so this is a bit of I'm not sure that we've had any specific reports of slowdowns like this.
I know the team is looking into something on iOS right now, where we have seen a bunch of emailed reports of folks saying that the game wasn't loading or is loading very, very slowly on iOS. So I know they're looking into that right now.
Yeah, I'd be curious if that's an iOS specific question. But mode run resets are going to be a server call. Switching parties will be a server call. Opening the season dialog shouldn't be, I don't think.
It probably does make a server call, but I just can't. To answer the question about the servers, the servers are fine right now. We haven't had any issues on the servers in several weeks. Knock on wood. Yeah. Every time I say that, they go down.
The automation tab definitely doesn't load anything from the server.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, actually, it depends on what part of the automation tab they're talking about. The multi-party one does.
Yes.
But once you're inside that, it doesn't load anything. I mean, all of these sound like server calls. It certainly could be. It's either an inopportune moment that you've hit a few bad times, incidentally, or there could be internet connection issues depending on where you're coming from. I know we have had players report, players, especially players that are not in North America, we've seen some reports of a really delayed connection, but nothing sort of widespread that I'm aware of on this. But I'll certainly keep an eye on it for further reports, and I'll check with Sean after and see if he's been getting any tickets about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next question is from Foolish Genius 89, who says, "Your resident noisy Switch player here. About 80% of my game crashes happen when cycling through champs. You mentioned a while ago working on a fix for choosing champs on console. Has there been any progress on that front?"
So no, that object or that item is on the list. I know that one of our developers, Nick Wilson, has been working through our list of fixes, or not fixes, our list of requests that have come in from the stream, and so I know that is on the list. I'm not exactly sure how far down the list it is, but it's not too far down. I think the list is only as well. It's the items that I mentioned at the top of the stream, as well as a few others that are not in the list that I articulate. But it is in the list, and we are going to get to that one. It just depends on how quickly Nick gets through that list. So probably a few more weeks before that's looked at, but it is on the list and it will get looked at.
Okay. It looks like Martin is indicating that it's giveaway time. He's indicating it a little bit further down from where he normally does, but that's fine. I'm down there looking at new questions. So yeah, we're going to be doing our normal 2:30 giveaway. This is where you have a chance to win 42 chests of your choice. The way it works is once the giveaway starts in chat, you can type in a keyword. That keyword will be background V2. And once you type in that keyword into chat, you are entered into the raffle. And if you win, you get to pick the type of chest you get. And you get 42 of them. You can pick any type of chest, any type of chest in the game, except for Gloria Bahamut chests. You can't choose aluminum chests. They're not in the game.
What? What about magnesium chests?
Magnesium chests are not in the game.
Titanium chests?
If you drop those in water, it's bad news all around.
Chromium chests? Nickel chests? Copper chests?
No.
Gallium chests?
No. Polium chests? No.
Cesium?
There's no atomic chests.
Tungsten chests?
I suggest gold Modron component chests. Those are the best ones. George Michael chest. Yeah. So yeah, that giveaway will go on for a minute or two, and then they'll pick a winner. And congratulations in advance to whoever wins.
Get uranium chests. Just don't get too close to them.
Yeah, you don't want 42 of those. Next question is from Luciira, who asks, where can we who are deaf or hard of hearing find the lyrics for the jukebox music with vocals? That's a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. Now, I don't have an answer for that, but I did tag it because I'm pretty sure we can ask somebody, probably Dylan, would know what the answer to that is. I'm not sure if we have that listed anywhere, but I'm sure if we do, Dylan would be the guy to ask. And
we can mark this one in the color of the questions to be passed on to other people.
I'm not sure that if we don't have that someone would annotate them, but if we do have that, I'm sure we can get a link and let people know.
Sean says that we have a public lyrics doc, I think. So if we don't, then Sean was wrong. But if we do, then Sean is a hero. So no pressure, Sean. Go find that.
Okay. Sure. Moving on.
Just read the next question.
Yeah. Next question
we'll let Mars type in that.
From Max I. Cubert. When is Spelljammer going to get more blessings?
Great question. Spelljammer. Oh, there we go. Moobot just posted a link to a lyrics doc for some of the shows from Bardic Inspiration, which is where those songs in the jukebox came from. Anyway, Spelljammer, the Xerxes campaign is going to get more blessings when we roll out the third set of adventures. We roll out new blessings. There are 5 tiers of blessings, and we generally do about 10 adventure rollouts, each one with 2 adventures, so 20 adventures in total. And we generally roll out the new blessings with the odd numbered rollouts. So when the 5th and 6th adventures come out, which is the third set of adventures, we will get the second set of blessings. And those are designed and ready to go, and they're going to be awesome, and you're going to love them. And the global one's going to be great. And I am not 100% sure when those are coming out, but it'll come out with the third set of Spelljammer campaign adventures.
Okay. Next question. This one is from Coddleguts. One thing that would make patron challenges and season challenges less of a burden would be for the counting of these things to be subject to speed effects. For example, kill X monsters could get multi-credit from the from Hugh or reduced by Nahara. It's likely that you'll add things like this in the future, and if not, or is it likely you'll add things like this in the future, and if not, do you have other ways to plan to reduce the amount of, quote, work, quote, required per weekday in the game?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And the answer to that question is, how did you get access to our design docs? Get out of there. Stop peeking forward. But yes, we do have plans to address these things in several ways. There's something coming out, I think sometime early in 2023 that is going to be kind of like your first suggestion, so a way to kind of get multiple credits for things instead of just doing it one at a time. And then we're also, at around the same time, planning to do a full pass through all of the patron challenges and remove some of the dumb ones and add some ones that are just better for finishing things faster. So some of the ones that we're looking at is the patron challenges that require you to like complete areas without any support champions or without any tanking champions or DPS champions, or just dumb stuff like that for some reason I thought would be interesting, but turns out is super annoying when you have to do it week after week after week after week. So we're getting rid of some of those. We're getting rid of some of the ones where it asks you to use dumb champions as your top DPS and replacing them with ones where you should use like cool meta champions as your top DPS. So there's definitely some changes coming to that early in 2023, along with some other things that should make the patron challenges less of a burden each week.
Okay. The next question is a little concerning, and it's partly because of the way it was worded, and I don't know if they did this on purpose, and I'm not here to make fun of your grammar, but Mr. Furrock asks, why is Arkan's head hanged like a trophy in the background? And my understanding is hanged means like with a noose, and I don't know that we did that to Arkan, but on the other hand, if we cut his head off and hung it up there, that's still pretty gruesome, so...
Yeah, I don't think that's Arkan's head. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that we just went out and found a random red dragon and just cut off its head.
Murdered it, cut its head off. Yep.
Yeah, totally. Just it had a family too. It was really gruesome. We really shouldn't have done that. We're monsters.
Yes, and as the chat, I'm not here to judge people's grammar. I just thought that alternate use of the word was actually pretty funny. So, okay.
Okay. Next question, or actually it's just a comment from Evil Emperor Zerg, who says, "Thank you for fixing the required champion swap bug. Very annoying and frustrating." I'm assuming that the bug was very annoying and frustrating, and it's not very annoying and frustrating that we fixed it. So you're welcome.
Absolutely. I don't know the details on that one.
Oh, there was a required champion swap bug and we fixed it, obviously.
Yep. Okay.
Let's see. Next question is from Mr. Nobodyson, who I assume is the captain of Bodie McBoatface, who asks, I play on mobile, and many of the tooltips are very hard to get to show up. One, they're not long, or they're long enough. They're not. Oh, to get to show up long enough to read, and not directly under your finger. Could there be an option for these to be sticky and stay until you tap elsewhere?
Yeah, that's a good point. I know it's probably something that hasn't had a lot of attention. It is, I know a number of the tooltips on mobile, we did go out of our way to make sure if you tap them and let go, they stayed, and then you tap somewhere else. But I think that that's not something that had a high degree of consistency, especially after in the first sort of I want to say few releases, but that's not quite what I want to say. Sort of as things went on, I know as new features got added, that was something that I think got overlooked. So definitely could be improved on that. It would probably be helpful if there are some specific ones that you're looking for that have had that are having that issue. If you want to pass those along to Sean in a ticket. Because we could definitely get specific ones fixed. You can even include my name in that, and I'll make sure that they get passed on as something to a developer that they can take a look at. But yeah, it's definitely something that needs to have a better consistency, because I know early on we were careful to make sure that if you tapped it, it stayed up, but I'm pretty sure that got overlooked as things went forward. So definitely could use a little bit of love there. Okay, next question. This one is from Gookin. Doesn't the season system prevent someone who started late, like halfway into the season, from buying it, since you will be behind and you can't get all of the rewards?
Yeah, interesting question. We don't prevent people from buying the season pass if they started late. We do have a couple of catch up mechanics in there, like you can buy some level ups if you fall behind, or if you get to the end of the season and you're looking for a way to just get a little bit more XP, so you can snag that last reward or two. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know that other games that have a season have a kind of cutoff date for when you can buy the season pass. Maybe that is a thing, but yeah, I don't know. It feels like something we wouldn't want to. It feels like some agency that we wouldn't want to be taking away from people.
Yeah, for sure.
Wanted to. We could certainly maybe do like a warning if you're level 1 and you're buying the season pass and there's like a week left in the season. We'd be like, hey, are you sure you want to buy this? Like, but aside from that, I don't think I'd want to just do a cutoff.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of things around that too that are worth considering. One of them being that your progress in the season, especially if you've been playing but you don't have the season pass, when you purchase that pass or you're purchasing late, you may be quite a few levels already in. So something like that, we wouldn't want to block that. Although that, from what you're saying, that could be detected and a warning could be there. Certainly the percentage along the season and sort of how far along there's still what you might consider to be of good value to the season pass is, because the way it's set up is that there's a ton of rewards that I'm not sure what we say in the thing is how much those rewards are worth, but it's a really great deal for the items if you were buying them directly, but you do have to, of course, do the quest to get them. So the season pass does still get you a better value up until like you get your $10 worth after, I'm not sure what we calculated the level to be, Justin, like 3 or 4, or like through the reward track, like once you've completed and bought all the rewards from the first 2 or 3 tiers, you've kind of gotten what you would otherwise if you just bought those items directly.
Yeah, I think it depends on how you internally value things like skins and feats and whatnot. But traditionally, like if we do a skin and feat pack, I think the $10 value will get you like 1 skin and 1 feat, which is the first 2 reward tiers.
Right, and there are chests in there as well, I think, in the first
chests,
couple.
There's item levels. There's all sorts of other stuff there. I'm just thinking about kind of the premium reward types. So
yeah.
It's very worth it, even at the first couple of tiers.
Yeah. So you could definitely still look at it as a good deal, even if you won't be able to get all the way through. But certainly on the other side, I'm sure people look at that and think, I don't have enough time to finish this, so I'll wait until next time. But okay, next question. This one here is from Dust7777. As a new player, or as a newer perfectionist player that doesn't have every champion, I feel forced to do all the retired season's champions' time gates multiple times for their variant achievement, while their cost is halved. That's 4 champions worth of time gate pieces. Any ideas? This sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing we tried to do there to make that a little bit easier was we did reduce the time gate cost for the champions who are part of the season. So it's 3 instead of 6. So that kind of halved the number of time gate pieces you'd need to do that. I'm not really sure what the best the best thing for this is. We could further reduce the cost down to like 1, but then we start to get into issues of just like feeling like you have to save up time gate pieces between seasons so that you can spend them all on chests because they're such a good deal. So I think there's a balancing act there of sort of making it super cheap and super good for those champions, and making it so folks don't feel like they have to spend their time gate pieces on those champions during a season. So yeah, I think off the top of my head, I don't have any ideas of how to make that a little bit easier, aside from just saying like, the time gates won't ever go away. So, even if they're a little bit more expensive, they will be there. Free time gate weekends will pop up. You'll always have an option to pick up another time gate for those champions. But yeah.
Okay. Moving on. Next question. This is from Zone Stalker. Someone who don't have the season pass and looking to pick up the rewards from the season, any reason why you just can't buy the champion-specific chests without owning them? We unlock the reward to buy. No reason why we can't pick them up without having the champion.
Yeah, this is a good point, and I think this is something we can take a look at. We did. So basically, I think what they're saying here, just to say it in another way, is if you get to a champion-specific chest, like a Sentry chest reward, I think right now you can't actually purchase it unless you have Sentry unlocked. And so you have to kind of skip over it until you get Sentry unlocked, which of course you can do with the cheaper time gates, as I mentioned in the last question. But we did do a thing for Modront component chests and pieces, and some of the trials related stuff, where previously you had to have those systems unlocked in order to purchase the reward items. But now we changed those so that it just gives you a little warning and be like, hey, you're not going to be able to use this right now, but eventually you will once you unlock the system associated with it. We could certainly do a similar thing, I think, for those champion-specific chests, and potentially just look at all the items and be like, yeah, you can buy these without having the champion, and we'll just give you that little warning of, hey, this is for a champion you don't own, but once you own the champion, you'll get the items, or items you get from the chest will be automatically added once you unlock the champion, kind of thing. So I think that's a doable thing. If not for season 1, we can definitely do that for season 2, but we should be able to do that retroactively.
All right. Where are we at? McCassin.
We're on this question.
Who will be, or McCassin, MT Cassin asks, I hope I'm saying that right. Who will be in season 3?
Season 3? We haven't even finished season 1 yet. What about season 2? Don't you guys want to know who's going to be in season 2?
Like, we skipped a whole 10 episodes, so they're gonna.
It was like a joke, but it's a meta joke kind of thing. I don't think we're quite ready to talk about who's going to be in season 3. I think a good plan would be to wait and see who's in season 2, and then maybe ask this question again in like 4 months.
Oh, Justin, they're saying in the chat that you mentioned Black Viper isn't in season 3, so who is?
Let's see, who else isn't in season 3? We'll just go through all of the champions. And yes, I know that the Well of Spoilers knows who's in season 2, but we prefer to do these streams assuming not everyone is reading the Well of Spoilers. So season 3, it does not have doesn't have Krull in it. Krull is not in season 3. Krull's also not in season 2, for those of you who haven't been reading this Well of Spoilers. No Krull in season 2. But I think we will be announcing, we're going to actually be, I mean, this is a good question, I guess, we're going to be trying something a little bit different with season 2, where I think we're going to be, hopefully, if we can get the tech done for it, knock on wood, we are going to be having the season dialogue appear with the season 2 stuff in it. And you can check out all the rewards and whatnot for, I think, about a week prior to the season actually starting.
Well, it sounds like a terrible tease, Justin.
It is a terrible tease. But the other thing we'll be doing is we'll be releasing all of the champion changes a week before the season starts. So you'll get a chance to play with the champions, see how they work without the stress of also having to do a bunch of milestone quests or daily quests or whatnot in the season as well. So hopefully we'll be getting that in for season 2, if not for season 3. And that'll be fun for people to be able to digest those champion changes prior to the season starting.
Okay. Next question from a Decaf Hobgoblin 5. Okay. I mentioned on this...
I don't want those caffeinated hobgoblins. They're just...
Nah, they're climbing up the walls. I mentioned this on another stream and in the suggestions, but what do you guys think of Nordrum having the ability to earn weekly limited Modron chests after a core is leveled up so the experience isn't just wasted?
Yeah, I think that we've talked about kind of ways to over-level Modron cores past level 15. I think there's some good ideas in there. Maybe it could be Modron chests, maybe it could be something else, maybe components or something like that. But I think it's definitely something that we will explore at some point. It's just not on the radar quite yet. Lots of other exciting things coming down the pipe, though. No pun intended.
Uh-huh. Okay, next question here. Gelatinous Rubik's Cube asks, I happened to be watching a Mars Guiding Hand when he narrated/acted the new text quest. It was great. Any plans to add sounds with those text bubbles? And there's a follow-up blurb here from Mars, who's modding, of course, saying that he swears he didn't ask this person to ask this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll have to lock Mars in the sound booth and have him record
every voice,
400,000 lines of dialogue now. So have fun with that, Mars. You definitely brought this upon yourself. No, I'm just kidding.
And all the different languages.
Oh yeah, in every language too, in 7 languages.
Just volunteering to do it. Yes.
Yes. But yeah, that's probably something that will be restricted to Mars Guiding Hand, Mars Guiding Hand singular, because it's just an enormous amount. It's an enormous backlog, and it'd be an enormous amount of data too.
Yeah,
we might have more lines of dialogue in this game than
graphics.
Some of those crazy adventure games, right? Like, there's a lot of text in this game right now.
Yeah, that would be an enormous undertaking. And then, as you said, it would add to the download size.
Oh, the poor download size.
Oh, God forbid you're playing on a Switch.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't. Yeah, it wouldn't. That wouldn't work.
Yes, it would be awesome, but I think it's quite a bit out of reach. So,
to say the least.
Yeah. Next question. This one is from Sergio Morzov. That's what I got. I'm going with it. I'm on level 15 of the season. Do you think I could still get the cool, familiar blue star sword?
Oh, we might be getting down to the wire on that. So I think you need to be level 28. It's either 28 or 31 to get to tier 10 to get the familiar. It might be. I mean, you got 3 weeks basically.
It'd be a tough
I
pull.
think it'd be pretty tight at this point.
And it's going to depend a lot on how much of your progress so far has come from daily quests, and how much of it has come from the season and the milestones.
Yeah.
Because if you still got a lot of the seasonal and milestone ones to go, you could get those done with a lot of grinding. But if you got those done and you're just missing the dailies, you might be sort of on a losing timeline.
Yeah. If you do have a lot of milestone quests, then potentially, if you've been diligent about your dailies and you've been doing them roughly half the time, then you should be able to get there. Um, so yeah, it's possible. And as we mentioned before, if you get to like level 26 or 27 before the end of the season, you can buy that. There's like a $5 pack that'll bump you up to the next tier, if you needed to.
Okay. Next question. This one is from Branwen Kenku. Asks, have you thought about doing a survey in the game on Season 1 to get a better idea about how some players are liking the game, even if they don't participate in the Reddit or the Discord?
Yeah, this is a great question, and absolutely we have thought about doing this.
Yep.
I think Dave and I talked about this a little while ago, actually, not on stream, but just sometimes we talk outside of the stream. That's pretty rare, but sometimes we do.
Don't let on.
We talk on dev opinions, Friday night at 11 after a bunch of beers. So yeah, we did think about, or we have thought about how valuable it would be to be able to sort of get that larger amount of feedback from people who play the game. Obviously, we pay a lot of attention to what's going on in Reddit and Discord and in our own chats and on the other streams as well. But it is definitely hard to to get a full feeling for people who don't participate on those social platforms, because often the feedback we get from Discord and Reddit will be very what's the word for it?
Vocal?
Vocal.
Polarized? Polarized might be the word you're looking for.
It'll be pretty polarized. Yeah, it'll be sort of the ends of the spectrum, as opposed to kind of the bell curve that you get in the middle. So I think it'd be very valuable. I think one of the challenges is just figuring out how to do that, and how to process the data that comes out of that. So I think it's something we would like to be able to do, but for now we're just going to have to depend on the stuff from each end and try to figure out what's actually in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that's worth, I guess we have in the past in various of our older games done surveys. In fact, I think I can't remember which game it was. It might have been Bushwhacker or even Eggbreaker.
I think in Bushwhacker 2 and maybe in Eggbreaker Adventures we did a survey after every event.
Yeah, after every single event. We actually had an integrated system we'd written into the game to do that, and it certainly did have a fair amount of helpful results from that, and it's something that I've brought up on numerous occasions to do in Champions, but it's something that's sort of never gotten enough sort of backing behind it, and it is something that it's not super straightforward, even first from a tech standpoint and then just from forming a survey and asking the right questions. It's actually harder than it sounds. We certainly want to be careful about that and make sure that the way they're phrased, you don't lead the questions or lead the people with the questions. Leading questions are not so great. But yeah, it's certainly something that we may do in the future. Yeah. Okay, I think we are basically out of time, Justin.
I think we've run out of time. I agree. Yeah. So that's the end of our show. If we didn't get to your question this week, don't worry, you'll have another opportunity. We will be live again at the same time next week. Before we sign off, though, we'd like to thank our tireless mods, Mars and Martin. They're the folks who copy your questions into our questions doc and generally make things in chat awesome. So thanks to both of you.
And of course, thanks to all of you for hanging out, watching the stream, asking such great questions, and enjoying the game. Without you, no one here would get to do what we do.
And we like what we do.
All right, that's enough. Have a great evening, everyone, or rest of your day, wherever you're at.
East Coast will have a good evening. Thanks, Mards.
Quick, Justin, tell a dad joke.
I can't. I'm not a good dad. Thanks for putting me on the spot, though.
Anytime.